We've got a fresh batch of ads and drops for this week in fantasy basketball coming up next on Beat the Odds. Don't go anywhere. Hello, sports fans. Welcome back to another episode of Beat the Odds. We're going to take a look at 5 players you should consider dropping from your squad and 5 players you should consider picking up. Before we get started, of course, if you like this type of content, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and keep an eye out there for when we hit 1,000 subscribers. We'll be giving away this Anthony Edwards PSA 9 slab. Let's get started in Washington. Player for you to consider dropping: Monte Morris, 52% owned, 26 minutes per game last week, 7.8 points, 3.8 rebounds, 4.3 assists on 50% shooting from the field, 100% from the line. He's currently missing some time here, a lower back issue, and he's a fringe starter when he's healthy. And he's also become, of course, the 5th option on that team for scoring. So he's not really playing a huge role. He's barely rosterable here, even when he is healthy. And DeLon Wright, of course, is lining himself up for a possible split for those point guard minutes here as the season comes to a close. So not really somebody that I would consider hanging on to. He's certainly drop worthy there if you happen to see somebody out on your waiver wire that is going to play a much more prominent role. Up next, we're going to go to the Nets. Ben Simmons, 60% owned, 17 minutes per game last week, 2 points, 3.5 rebounds, 3 assists, 50% shooting from the field. He's kind of out of the rotation now, and he's also injured here as well. You can kind of chalk this season up for Ben Simmons as pretty much a lost season. He may see some minimal minutes behind Nick Claxton when healthy as a backup center, which is not really what you want to see out of a player like Simmons. It's pretty much too late now to see a reclamation. There's not enough games left for him to actually ramp up his game so that he would be worthwhile to keep on the roster. Going to Atlanta next, we have Saddiq Bey, 25 minutes per game here, 69% owned in Yahoo leagues, 9.8 rebounds, or 9.8 points, 4.5 rebounds, 46% shooting from the field, 100% from the line. If you take a look at the complementary players in Atlanta, you've got Bey, Bogdanovic, and Hunter. My money is on Bey to put up the least impactful rest of the season here for fantasy leagues. So, again, not somebody who's going to be able to offer you much outside of scoring and some rebounds and 3-point shots. He may see 25 minutes per game when the roster is fully healthy. I would stay away from Bey. It's too much volatility there, and he could really drag down your percentage numbers there as well, especially in shooting. Up next, somebody who we've had on our radar to drop here for pretty much all season, Brandon Clark, 51% owned, 21 minutes per game in the last 2 weeks here, 6 points, 7.3 rebounds, 2.3 assists, 1 steal, 1.3 blocks, 53% shooting from the field. He's a phenomenal player in real life. He's not getting enough minutes. Adams is out. Steven Adams is out, so there is more minutes to grab between Brandon Clark, Xavier Tillman, and Sandy Aldama. Clark is losing out on those extra minutes here. He's 17 minutes per game in the last 2. And of course, once Adams returns, Brandon Clark will probably see fewer minutes going his way. So we're hoping that Clark inherits a much larger opportunity for next year, because if he is, he could be a huge post-hype sleeper to key in on here for next year's drafts. Finally here, we're going to go to the Clippers. Mason Plumlee, 57% owned, 22 minutes per game last week, 7.8 points, 7.8 rebounds, 2.8 assists, 100% from the field, 79% from the line. Zubac's injury makes Plumlee playable for the time being, but Westbrook being in town now siphons any offensive opportunity that Mason Plumlee might have. He's not going to be putting up numbers like he was seeing in Charlotte still with his short-term opportunity with Zubac out. And of course, when Zubac returns, Plumlee becomes pretty much unplayable. So if he's sitting in your squad here, another person I would consider dropping to see if you can find somebody who's going to have a much better upside for the rest of the season. All right, let's take a look at 5 players who I think we're going to have a solid week here coming up. Dante DiFrancesco is going to kick us off here, 44% owned, 30 minutes per game here in the last 2 weeks, 13.6 points, 3.2 rebounds, 3.4 assists, 2 steals, 52% shooting from the field, 83% from the line. Steph Curry's out indefinitely. He's got 2 partial tears in his lower leg, which is going to open up the door again for Dante DiFrancesco. We've seen him step up nicely here when Steph was injured earlier in the year. For those who don't know DiFrancesco, he's a tenacious defender, capable playmaker, and a sharpshooter. So that is great around fantasy circles, and he's putting up some pretty good percentage numbers there as well. So I would say that he's fantasy useful, at least until Steph returns. We see what kind of happens to Dante's role at that point. Up next, we're going to go to San Antonio, a haven for players to pick up here towards the end of the season. We're going to go with Malachi Branham, 40% owned, 32 minutes per game last 2 weeks, 19.3 points, 3.8 rebounds, 2.8 assists, 57% shooting from the field, 100% from the line. He's certainly one of a handful of players in San Antonio that's worthy of consideration. I think Jeremy Sochan there as well is another name you should keep an eye on there if he's available. The team tank is in full effect, so you can expect Branham to see good minutes even when Trey Jones and Devin Vassell return. Up next, we're going to go to Houston. KJ Martin, 49% owned, 32 minutes per game, 13.8 points, 7.3 rebounds, 2.5 assists, 46% shooting from the field, 77% from the line. Kevin Porter and Jalen Green are currently out, which gives Martin the focal point of the offense for the time being, at least. He's replaced Eric Gordon in the starting lineup, so his role is relatively secure even when the team is at full strength, which for me is all systems go. If you can find KJ Martin out on the waiver wire, he would be a very solid pickup that you can you can run pretty much throughout the rest of the season. Up next, we're going to go to Minnesota. We've got Kyle Anderson, 48% owned, 28 minutes per game, 12 points, 6.3 rebounds, 6.0 assists, 1 steal, 1 block, 50% shooting from the field, 79% from the line. That's over the last 2 weeks. Cat still down with the injury. Not quite sure if he's going to return this season. They're saying that he might return for the last week or two before the playoffs start. At that point, of course, if you're in a fantasy head-to-head league, you're going to be well in your playoffs at that point. So hopefully your team is strong enough to make it without Cat there. But the nice thing about Kyle Anderson is now that D'Lo's out of town, that's going to give Anderson more usage. So he's a pretty solid bet with a good floor here, likely for the rest of the season, unless we do see Cat ramp up to speed here before the season concludes. And then lastly, we're going to go to Detroit. Marvin Bagley III, 42% owned. He's been on a huge pickup list here over the last couple of days. 28 minutes that he played in his one game back from injury, 21 points, 18 rebounds, 1 block, 47% shooting from the field, 38% from the line. Bagley is more of a speculative ad while Jalen Duren is out and Wiseman's acclimating to the system in Detroit. Certainly capable of putting up the numbers that we saw in Toronto. Just keep in mind that was a very defensive game, so a lot of offensive rebounds, putbacks, that kind of stuff, which is what rang up the ledger there for Bagley. That's not going to be necessarily the case every game he steps out, so don't expect 21 and 18s coming from him for the week, but he's certainly worth a look and probably double-double there for you, at least until Duren gets back, and then they got the logjam there at center. And that's going to do it here for this episode. I hope you guys enjoyed this. If you did, please leave a like on the video, and of course subscribe to the channel for more content like this. Well, that's going to do it for us. So we're going to sign off for now. We're going to catch you guys on the next episode.